Okay. Hello, it is Monday, April 12th, 2021. It's around 10:32 a.m. here in the Pacific time zone. And this is the Inclusive Naming Initiative's open source Workstream reoccurring meeting. I'm Celeste Horgan. I will be hosting today. I would love if somebody could help me take notes. Stick up your hand, just volunteer for it.
Yeah, sure, Rich, I'll help.
Thank you, Rich. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to share my screen. Kind of first order of business today is, first off, not sharing a huge monitor. Geez. But it appears we don't have an option, so a huge monitor it's going to be. And second order of business is running through our issues. We do not have a project board, yes. So this is really just going to be asking for status updates at this point. And let's dive in. Okay, so advice/documentation deliverable on projects requesting language changes. So this was with Rich Bowen to execute on, and he has a draft available for review. So as a to-do for everybody, thank you so much, Rich. And I'm gonna just pop the line down here to put the Google Doc in. For everybody on this call, what I would really appreciate is if you could take a look at Rich's draft and please provide comment. And if we can do that by the end of this week, then we can potentially help him get that merged in the coming days. I'm losing myself in tabs and I apologize for that. Does anybody else have anything to say on advice/documentation deliverables, or are we good to move on? Going once, going twice.
Hi, this is Paris. I'm new, so I'm probably asked to elementary. Oh, it's already there. Never mind. It was to link his draft in the chat.
It's
Thank
totally
you.
okay.
On the right window.
Yeah. As kind of a matter of process, how are we comfortable with having kind of Google Docs as drafts? Would we like to move to more Git in the future? Is this an okay way for people to review?
I definitely don't have an issue with it. I did have to find the right browser tab for the right Google login, but yeah, it works for me.
Okay, that's great. I just want to make sure everybody is comfortable and lovely. And thank you, Amy, for posting that in the chat as well. I agree, Karsten. HackMD is kind of nice, but I think that also depends on people's technical ability, and I don't want to make any assumptions here. Okay.
Yeah, I like what Karsten just said. Move it to Git when it's out of WIP, right?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, when we need more strict version control. Yep.
Yep, sounds good. So the other thing that Rich had on his plate, and unfortunately Rich is not here today, was guidelines for open source communities on coordinating language changes. So this is how effectively how you go from search and replace to a project that is well executed. It doesn't appear that Rich has made any progress on that, but let's maybe give him another week. Okay, I am going to move on. this is an umbrella issue between us and marketing around case studies for successful language change projects and kind of starting that outreach. Bill has some helpful comments. So Bill Mulligan is heading up the marketing workstream, for those of you who don't know, which is effectively starting with the blog for case studies and moving forward from there. I don't know if we're ready to move forward with next steps on this. So for now, I'm gonna pause. Okay. And this was a to-do for both me and Stephen around effectively project outreach and how we can sort of start gathering critical mass around this. The decision that we came to in the last meeting was that it makes sense to start with the contacts that we have within the Inclusive Naming Initiative already, see who's working on what open source projects. And Stephen and mine's to do for this was to have a little bit of a think about how to do this without making it like a sales contact list and like bugging people basically. I think the conclusion that we're coming to is we sort of just need to ask and see who's involved in what. And then I think it's maybe a bit of a personal conversation, and again, being clear that we're not trying to sell anybody anything. So I think mine and Stephen's next step on this particular to-do is going to be drafting up an email to send to the overall mailing list saying, hey, we're looking for people who are involved in open source projects because we're looking to drive adoption there. So that's that to do. And that, aside from this very large umbrella issue, which I don't think is worth it for us to go through, comprises our project list. So I'm going to stop the share for now and let Rich kind of have a bit of a catch up. Thank you for diligently taking notes. Do we have any questions or comments on our current action items? Going once, going twice. Sold. So here at this point, we're going to move into the open discussion topics. One of the open discussion topics was working out how to collect and share project contacts information. At this point, I think we're just going to ask like if people are involved with open source projects and not ask for contact information. Just because I don't want this organization again to store kind of lists of people and their contact info. That's a little. The other thing in the open discussion topics are there's issue 49 here, which is around issues and PR templates. This organization as a whole needs a GitHub issue template. This is a really small task, and if somebody is comfortable drafting one of those up so that we can start taking issues in a more structured manner, this would be really, really helpful. Any takers?
So, yeah, how do you see this being used within this work stream, all of them?
It'll be all of them. And it's really just to make sure that we're providing kind of form fields for people to answer when they open issues to us.
Okay. And you're talking about like the things that show up in the .github/issues.
Yeah.
Metadata.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really just like that PR template.md file to make sure that we're asking people like, what is the problem? What is the proposed solution?
Mm-hmm.
To kind of prevent people from opening issues that are just like one-liners. myself included.
Yes, sure. I'll take a crack at it.
Thank you, Rich.
Circulate on the list, make a PR. How do you
Yeah.
want me to?
Open a PR, and you can either circulate it on the mailing list or you can contact us via Slack, I think.
Okay,
Okay.
sure.
Thank you so much, Karsten, for volunteering to review.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing it under the theory that, what is it, a straw man, right? So once you get something out there, everyone will go, oh, you forgot this, this, and this, and then
That's exactly it.
we'll make
That's
rapid.
exactly it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. So does anybody have anything else they'd like to discuss with this group? Going once, going twice, going 3 times, sold. Okay. No open discussion items. By way of kind of seeding a bit more discussion, is there any work that this open source work stream needs to be doing that hasn't been captured in an issue already?
Maybe one way we could reach out to, some of the GitHub, GitLab organizations, those who host open source things, and say, hey, we're working on making ourselves be a resource to open source projects, and maybe they can cascade it down once we're ready. But just to reach out to, and I don't know who it would be. I mean, it used to be SourceForge. I don't know if that's worth doing, but yeah, reach out.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think the other thing that I would love to bring to people's attentions in this work stream, and excuse me while I go digging for a link. The language work stream recently sent out a Google spreadsheet to collect recommendations that exist in different projects and different organizations. What we're doing right now is we're kind of compiling existing recommendations, especially if they are public. That's super useful to us. The kind of first set of deliverables we're hoping to show up with for the Inclusive Naming Initiative with the language workstream is a list of existing recommendations that we have come to quorum on, or come to a set of standardized replacements to the extent that it's important or that it's possible. So to everybody in this work stream, particularly if your open source projects have made these changes, please add your recommendations. If you can add sort of links to those style guide recommendations or to PRs or to whatever sort of paper trail you might have, that's also super useful to us, because what we're hoping to do again is to demonstrate a sense of consensus in the community. There's a link to that spreadsheet down at the bottom of these meeting notes, so please add your recommendations to the spreadsheet. Okay. That's all I've got on my agenda, folks. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to speak to?
Nope.
Okay. I am gonna call the meeting then, and this was a short one. I just want to sort of reiterate that an initiative like this really thrives on the work that all of you want to do. I can't hand it down to you, if that makes sense. So if there is work that you think is valuable to be doing in the open source space around inclusive language, please feel free to propose a project and let's start working on it, okay? For now, thank you all so much for your time. It was lovely seeing your faces on this Monday morning. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your days. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Celeste.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you, Celeste.